Praise 100.9. Now presenting Community Voices with Ron Holland, only on Praise 100.9.
And a good morning to you. Welcome to Community Voices. I'm your host, Ron Holland. I am both delighted and honored to have on the phone with me this morning my friend, Pichana Dubose, founder of Mayan Productions. Pichana was recently honored at the 47th Annual NAACP Image Awards by Radio 1, the parent company of this station, for her work, and I am excited to have her on the show to talk about the honor. Pichana Dubose, as I've said, is the founder of Mayan Productions, named after her two children, Maya and Man. Mayan Productions helps spread messages of positivity and encouragement with a distinct brand of edutainment. Mayan Productions deals with a host of difficult issues such as domestic abuse, drug awareness, negative peer influence, and the Christian faith. Mayan Productions also showcases both local and nationally renowned performers to bring its message to the stage. Pichana, thank you so much for joining me this morning.
Good morning, Ron. Thank you so much for having me. It's such an honor to be back.
Absolutely. First of all, I am completely enamored with your tenacity. You are exhausting every avenue to ensure that artists of all stripes, but specifically those that take to the stage, that they are recognized for their hard work. You are hard at work making sure that they get recognized. Talk a little bit about that.
Oh, well, thank you so much. I want to respond to your compliment. You got me smiling over here. Thank you. It's really good to be appreciated, which is what motivates me to do what I do every year with each theater award. It's an underserved market for people who are very talented around us here in Charlotte. And God has blessed me to be able to have a network of colleagues all around the world. Since I began this venture, starting back in 2012, I was inspired to do an award ceremony for playwrights, filmmakers, authors, even people who do other entertainment such as singing, dancing, who are just as talented as the household names that we hear every day. But because they're not recognized on a larger scale, I felt led to provide and create something for those artists to experience an extravagant award ceremony in their honor.
Yeah. Do you think the industry is partial only to, perhaps national recognized folks?
Absolutely. Unfortunately, yes. Independent artists, they rarely get any kind of love or support because people don't deem them as important or as talented, but that could be the furthest away from the truth. In my personal opinion, Ron, because I'm like you, I'm very critical of art and things we see on TV. You and I vibe a lot. We just don't accept anything. It has to be great.
That's right.
In my personal opinion, some of the most talented artists are undersigned, underrecognized artists, and they're unsigned. Some of the most talented people I've ever seen in my life are not household names.
Yeah.
And that includes the industry of theater, film, and, literary work.
Should there be an apparatus or an infrastructure available to better recognize and honor local as well as regional talents?
Well, that's the purpose of the Peach Theater Awards. There's other platforms that do cater to people who aren't household names, and but producers like myself, I'm also a playwright, as you know, and screenwriter, but I also produce events for my colleagues because this is an area that is so needed, and that's what artists and producers like me are working on, those platforms for the underserved and underrecognized talented people in the world. There's so many of them.
Yeah.
So many.
Now, interestingly, I was, perusing through our websites, and then, of course, I was on Facebook, and I was so elated to hear that you were going to be honored by Radio 1, which, of course, is the parent company of this station, and receive the NAACP Image Award for your work. Talk a little bit about that experience.
Honey, yes, I was so excited. I got to go and represent the city of Charlotte, which, I reside here. I was nominated for my work with the Peach Theater Awards, which is what we've been talking about. And, I was fortunate enough to get enough support, and my people really showed up for me. I was voted in as the hometown champion to represent Charlotte, North Carolina by the NAACP and Radio 1. And it was just an amazing event. Unfortunately, I was sick the entire time, but I pressed my way because I'm so passionate about the Peach Theater Awards. And, of course, it was such an honor to be recognized by Radio 1, in NAACP. So I had to go.
Yeah. Now, what was your first reaction when you were notified that you were actually going to be receiving this award?
Oh, my God. I had to wait a while. We had that winter storm.
That's right, yeah.
So when everybody else knew who won, I didn't hear anything. And so to be honest, I didn't think I won because, they notify the winners. The rest of the people, they're like, well, we'll holler at you next year. But so when I did find out after, that long period of absence, I was just so elated. I couldn't believe it at first. Just very extremely excited and honored and all of those emotions and everything that, I put into this event year round. It became full circle for me, and it felt like it was really worth it. Yeah.
Now, obviously, you had an opportunity to meet other honorees. How does this help in your networking efforts?
Oh, immensely. There were other artists there who were honored for different things, but it was an awesome platform to meet other people. What I do is deemed as community service as well, and then to meet some of the other people who do wonderful things in the community from the city they represent, it was just priceless. So I have honestly gained several sisters and brothers from that particular event. We talk, honestly, a couple of us, we talk every day. Ever since we've left L.A.
Wow, that's absolutely wonderful. It's very difficult to be recognized for your work. Competition can be absolutely fierce, especially in your line of work. Talk about how you positioned yourself to be noticed by the gatekeepers of the playwright industry and, of course, the NAACP.
Well, that's a daily struggle even now. You just have to, the key to anything is remaining consistent because when people see that you're consistent, that's part of it right there, is to be consistent. Then they begin to take you seriously. If you're consistent at whatever it is that you're doing, no matter what the craft is or talent is, if you remain consistent, people can't ignore you but for so long. They begin to pay attention, and then that's when the support begins to follow.
Yeah, and the reason I ask that question is because, I want our young folks to know that being in the limelight, having the television crews follow you, being on radio, this is a hard daily grind. This does not happen overnight.
No, sir, it doesn't. And some of my personal struggles personally, as a good friend of mine, part of my story. It takes a tremendous amount of sacrifice. It all depends on your level of passion. Some people are just hobbyists, and then you have some people who are extremely passionate about it. I fall in the extremely passionate about it category. What you put in anything is what you're going to get out of it, and it takes time. It takes time for people to earn, for you to earn people's trust. If they're going to invest their money in your to come support your productions, or if you're having any kind of campaign or fund drive or anything, people have to feel like, you've earned their trust and the character you represent is worth their investment. Because when people support you, it is an investment on their part.
Yeah. Talk about your family's reaction to your honor. Maya and Man, both of whom are the inspiration behind the name of your production company. I would gather that they were absolutely elated.
Yes, specifically my son, he was like, Mom, I prayed day and night that you would win. He said, Mommy, you deserve it so much because I see how much you put into it. And my son, as you know, he's an introvert. So for him to express himself that way, it really touched my heart. And Maya, she was like, Mom, I knew you were going to win. They both had different reactions, but they were both overwhelmed with support and joy.
Right. In case you're just joining us, I'm talking with playwright and director Pichanda Dubose, who recently was honored at the NAACP Image Awards by Radio 1, the parent company of this station, for her work in Charlotte. One of the other things that I so admire about you, and I think it's just extraordinary, is, as you've indicated, you've overcome a bevy of personal challenges while you are in pursuit of your career as a playwright. You survived domestic violence. You survived having to sleep in your car with your children because of homelessness. You even had to travel from city to city, state, and I know that, city to city, state to state, to put your productions on. Talk about those hard days.
Well, the hard days are all, they were all a part of, what got me nominated for the NAACP award by Radio One. It all encompasses the whole struggle. Everybody's road to success is different. That just happened to be part of my story. Yes, it was extremely hard. And yes, sometimes it still is extremely hard. But I think that because of those times, it made me a better writer, because I can write about certain things that I couldn't write about before because I hadn't experienced it. So I look at it all as all a part of my story, and what's going to add, and to make, I think it's just going to make me ultimately better suited to reach other people that other writers can't reach. Everybody has their genre. Everybody has their market of people. I can tell that I'm for the underdog. I'm for people that are overlooked because I've lived that myself.
Yeah. If there are any regrets about those hard days, what would those regrets be?
My only regret would be my children having to go with me. Anything else, I understand that, process is necessary, and that happened to be my personal process. But if any regret I have at all, it would be my children having to suffer with me. As a parent, I know you understand that.
Oh, absolutely. And of course, as parents, we're all required to instruct and guide our children in a world that is fraught with challenges and pitfalls. What life lessons do you think it's important for your children, my children, children of our community? What would be the life lesson you would like to teach and convey?
Well, in today's society, I would like to really stress being grateful. No matter what season we are in our life, I think being grateful plays a large part in how successful we become. Because I strongly believe that if we're grateful when we have less, that gives God incentive to bless us with more. So even in those darkest hours, for me personally, I tried to find something to be grateful for.
Of course, that's ringing loud and resonating with me. I suspect that this is a message that you're conveying to your audiences as well.
Absolutely, Ron. Absolutely.
What about the past and future cast members? What message do you convey about overcoming their adversities in pursuit of their dreams and goals?
Stick-to-itiveness, being consistent, pushing through the hard times, remaining faithful to those who have been good to you. Loyalty is a thing that is very rare in the industry. If you find someone good that's good to you in terms of either a playwright, screenwriter, fellow actor, fellow thespian, so to speak, if you find someone in the industry who's been good to you, remain good to that person, because you never know that they could be the very next gig you get, the very next job. Don't burn bridges. Be good to people. Remain faithful and consistent, because it always pays off. It always does. Now,
in addition to your honors, as you've mentioned, you held a number of award ceremonies of your own to honor the actors and actresses you have in your plays. The most recent was, of course, in Atlanta last year. You're in the process now of organizing the 4th annual Peach Theater Awards cruise to Cozumel, Mexico. Talk about that.
Well, it's so exciting, Ron. The Peach Theater Awards cruise, like you said, this is coming up on our fourth year, and this is our 4th year with the event, but this is our 3rd year having it on a cruise. And it's just a wonderful bevy. I've learned that word from you of events. This year we have, of course, the red carpet ceremony. We have the official award ceremony where all the honorees receive their Crystal Peach Award for their accomplishments in various categories. We also have included a 10-minute theater festival. This is our first year doing it, where we're going to be featuring some of the honorees doing one-man and one-woman shows. There's a couple of actors who are doing a 2-part skit together. But there's a 10-minute festival we've infused into it this year, which I'm extremely excited about that. We have a celebrity open forum. We have 2 celebrities who are going to be honored this year. The legendary Tony Terry, that sings the famous song "When I'm With You." We have Tony Grant, who is a star from the Tyler Perry Productions. Very well known for.
Tony has been in a number of your productions, right?
Yes, Tony has. Wonderful person. He's extremely busy, so it's an honor to have him to be a part of this cruise this year. He's receiving the Trailblazer Award, and that's Tony Grant. And Tony Perry is receiving the Lifetime Achievement Award.
Right.
So they're going to be teaching an open celebrity forum, and then we have 4 other workshops that's going to help all the honorees grow and enhance their careers as well. So we have all that going on top of a luxury cruise this year.
Now, this obviously is a major challenge for you. What could the community do to help in that effort?
Well, we currently have an online campaign, and I'm so glad that you gave me this platform, Ron, to get the word out about our campaign. If anyone wants to support this endeavor, we would greatly appreciate it. We're on GoFundMe.com/Peach Theater Awards. You can go to the GoFundMe site and put in Peach Theater Awards, and you'll see our link come up to anyone who would like to support this annual campaign.
Absolutely. Now, we've had on occasion to talk a lot about the challenges of getting support from the Black community, not just to support the stage industry, but an across-the-board effort to support Black-owned businesses and endeavors. Share your concerns about this particular issue.
You sure you want me to go there?
I sure want you to go there because it is a necessary conversation.
Wow. That is
you do know that I have a tendency to put folks on the spot when they're in an interview with me, right?
Okay, well, you've given me this platform, so I'm going to step up to it. Ron, that is a daily, continual struggle for me personally. I can't speak for everyone else, but I just can't understand why we as a people find it so hard to invest our dollars in one another, especially when you see a worthy cause, when you see someone who has merit and character, when you see an established event, when you see someone who is, decorated with other accomplishments, and they remain successful and consistent. I just don't understand what the issue is with our people. And it is an issue, and it really needs to stop getting swept under the rug. We really need to do better by one another, especially for those who deserve your support. Yeah, I really don't understand, but it is a serious problem. I deal with that every day, every day.
Interestingly, and when I talk about this issue, I always harken back to a statistic from back in the early 90s and perhaps even the early 80s. And I think it was Tony Brown's journal, and Tony Brown, the journalist who talked about that. And he talked a little bit about how the circulation of the dollar, how in the Black and actually in the Jewish community, the dollar would circulate, I think, 21 days. In the Asian community, I think it's 17 days. In the general white community, the dollar circulates about 14 days. In the Black community, the dollar only circulates 6 hours, and it's already out of our community. 97% of our dollar goes outside of our community. So it is a real difficult challenge to get Black folk to support Black-owned businesses in our community.
Yes, it is. It is, and you're talking to someone who lives that on a daily basis. Not only Black-only businesses, but Black artists as well. Yeah, struggle constantly for support. The beloved Beyonce, she can get online and say, let's get information. Or everybody knows Beyonce doesn't need any money. Right. But if she started a GoFundMe campaign, she would have what she needed within 15 minutes. In donations. But then you get that's another part of the problem. A lot of us won't support one another unless we feel they've already made it. Wow. That's a whole nother issue as well. Yeah.
Is this a function of where our economy is positioned at that current moment, or is this, again, just indicative of our community?
No, it has nothing to do with the economy. People do what they want to do. Yeah. Just like right now, we're supposed to be in a financial crisis as a country. But, we have people buying $200 tickets to see a celebrity, but won't support a local artist. People do what they want to do with their dollars. It's just plain and simple. Yeah. I don't know any other way to say it.
So what would you do to encourage folks to be more participatory in efforts to support Black-owned businesses?
The only thing I could recommend for artists such as me and myself is just to remain consistent and try to continue to prove yourself worthy of support. That's the best thing you could do.
Yeah.
And just pray that people eventually get it.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Now, I simply can't close the show without giving you an opportunity to talk about your upcoming projects, The Greats, and a project dedicated to the events that happened in Ferguson a couple of years back. Talk a little bit about that.
Okay. The Greats has been postponed to summer of 2018.
Okay.
I've needed more time. Because of the magnitude of that production,
Mm-hmm.
I have to get the funding where I need it to be.
Yeah.
But in short, it's a tribute musical to our fallen greats who have passed away. Black musical artists who have passed away.
Yeah. Now, Natalie Cole has recently passed, and of course, one of the greatest artists in terms of Earth, Wind, and Fire. He's gone. So now you have actually time to include those folks into your production.
You got to stay out of my head, Ron. You got to stay out of my head, but absolutely. Yeah. I would be remiss if I didn't include both of them.
Right. If folks want to learn a little bit more about Mayan Productions, the slew of stage productions that you're producing, and, of course, the 4th Annual Peach Theater Awards Cruise, how can they reach you?
Okay, I want to briefly hit on Ferguson right quick.
Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
The production that you mentioned. Ferguson is actually going to launch this year, finally, Ron, September in L.A. It's also a musical. Mm-hmm. It's a musical that I wrote. I was inspired to write it in lieu of the wrongful deaths at the hands of law enforcement.
Yeah.
And it was inspired by the original film, 12 Angry Men. So we're excited about that. And, of course, I plan to be on your show a couple more times before that happens.
Absolutely. The door's always open.
On Facebook, social media, all of my social media outlets feature my name. If you put in Facebook, Twitter, or Instagram, if you put in Pichanda Dubose, that's P as in Peach, EACHANDA, Dubose, DUBOSE.
All right. Pichanda Dubose, thank you so much for coming on this morning, talk about your award and talk about all of your efforts. I am, again, elated that I actually know you. And so at some point, I'll leave it at that. Thank you so much for joining me this morning.
Ron, I'm honored as always. Thank you.
Absolutely. We're going to take a quick break. When we come back, I'll wrap up the show. This is Community Voices with your host, Ron Holland. We'll be back in a moment. And welcome back to Community Voices. I'm your host, Ron Holland. I want to again thank director and playwright Pichanda Dubose for coming on to talk about her recent honors at the 47th Annual NAACP Awards and Radio 1 Honor. Listen, if you have any comments on today's show, please send me an email, ronholland@radio-1.com or ronholland25@yahoo.com. I also invite you to visit my blog for some insightful and provocative commentary, www.ronhollands.blogspot.com. Today's show is also available on our Praise Charlotte website, as well as our oldschool1053.com website. Hey, listen, you can also catch me on Facebook and Twitter and Instagram and even Periscope. Thank you so much for tuning in to this week's Community Voices. I'm your host, Ron Holland. We will talk with you next week.
Thank you for listening to Community Voices with Ron Holland. For more information, log on to PraiseCharlotte.com.